Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Straight Up with MS and all its crazy little circles here on MS&Me Radio, brought to you by the MS Global Support Network. I'm your host, Patty Long, and you can find me on Twitter at MSinit for Life, and I spell that MSENIT, the number 4, LIFE. I love hearing from you guys, and I'm just really excited when I hear something from anybody, whether it's a direct message or if they just jump on there and jump in whatever conversation is going on at the moment, because Twitter is so instantaneous, and that is one of the best things about it. I wanted to tell you guys too, I got a message last night actually, but I didn't see it until this morning from somebody who listens, and it's just so exciting to me when I hear these things. And this person is actually working on a therapeutic solution for people living with MS, and it's coming from a global pharma company. Yes, the pharma companies are trying to help us. They're not trying to hurt us. They're not trying to keep something away from us. They are trying to help us. And, this to me is such an exciting thing. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing from Brittany again about this project, because yes, I want to be involved in it. Anything I can do to help others makes having MS just that much better, because if what I've been through can help you somehow, then I'm doing something wonderful. And this is my purpose, and we all need a purpose. So hopefully, I can bring you news on that in the future as I hear it. Right now, though, I seem to have had a bit of a setback. I went to the ER on Sunday. The pain in my right eye was just through the roof. I could not see. And I don't know yet because, well, my ER doesn't have a neurologist. Yay! An ER without a neuro. That's awesome, guys. So anyways, they never know what to do. They called the on-call doctor of mine in Atlanta, so it is across state lines, and he told them, to check for bladder infections, check for other kinds of infections through my blood and all this. So they did that. They did an x-ray of my chest because apparently it is pneumonia season. So they wanted to make sure I didn't have pneumonia, even though I had no symptoms of anything else. So after all that was done, they gave me 1 gram of Solumedrol, which is what I normally get for any kind of a relapse. And that did clear up my left eye, but not my right eye, which is still swollen today. So then my doctor's office was supposed to get back in touch with me and schedule some sort of home health nurse or something to come out here to give me the steroids, because, well, if I can't see, I can't drive. I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to go driving around with one eye that is only partially working and the other eye not working at all. So I haven't heard back anything about that as of yet. And So I'm still waiting. And in the meantime, I do have an ophthalmologist in one town over, so it takes about 45 minutes or so to get there. And my son will be coming in just a little bit to take me to that appointment. And he can determine what is going on with my right eye and will set me up with whatever I might need in the way of steroids. So I've not been feeling really good, and I've not been. I missed Chat MS again, because of it, because I couldn't read the questions. I tried, but I couldn't read. I couldn't make any heads or tails out of anything, even using my computer, which on the computer I can make everything super big. So but I missed hashtag Chat MS, and I don't like missing hashtag Chat MS. That's like one of my highlights of the week, So when I miss it, I feel bad because I missed it. And, we shouldn't feel bad when we miss stuff. And that's just part of having MS, is that sometimes we miss stuff. Not because we want to, not because we didn't want to participate, but just because we cannot do it. And we have to recognize that this is what it is. Now, it was suggested to me that this was a pseudo relapse because I'm not paralyzed today. I wasn't paralyzed when I went in, which when we get paralyzed, it's not really considered being paralyzed. It's paresthesis, and that's the kind that isn't caused by a severed nerve, but just caused by the nerves not connecting properly so that the signals go through. But this one wasn't affecting me that way. It was all in my head. Isn't it always all in your head? Well, actually, it's not. If you have paresthesis that's the same on both sides, both legs at the same time, both arms at the same time, that is generally caused by a spinal lesion, not by a brain lesion. If it's a brain lesion, then, usually one side starts or one area starts, and others may jump in, but it's not both at the same time. So this one was, whatever's going on is going on in my brain and is affecting my eye the worst. It's affecting my hearing some, and it's also affecting those wonderful cognitive skills of mine. Yay, me. It's wonderful when you get so confused and are so confused you don't know what to do, which is the state that I was in Saturday and Sunday. Now, after that dose of steroids, I'm a little less confused, but I'm still in that what do I do thing. So, and what am I supposed to do? And what day is it? And what month is it? And then my mom calls and says she's talking about Christmas. And I'm like, oh, that's right. It's December. Why should I need to be reminded what month it is, right? But I have to be reminded of these things. And so she was talking about that. And she was also talking about my daddy, because my daddy's been super, super sick. And when you worry, then you may get a pseudo relapse from all the worrying and all the stress. And a pseudo relapse, though, is usually very bouncy, where your symptoms are coming and going and coming and going and coming and going. And this has not been really bouncy, but it's been primarily with my vision and my right ear and maybe my taste buds, although, steroids make everything taste gross. Who the heck was it? This is something I've always wanted to know. But, the very first time I was given steroids, I was told that it would give me the taste of metal in my mouth. And they taste nasty. But what I want to know is, who is it that decided that steroids taste like metal. And what kind of metal do they taste like? Because I don't go around tasting metal. Do any of y'all? I mean, really, who tastes metal? So the only person that I could even think of was from TV, and my mom reminded me of A Christmas Story, which is one of my favorite Christmas movies. It's just hilarious. And the little boy sticks his tongue to the metal pole and his tongue gets stuck. So maybe he's the one that decided they taste like metal. Who knows? Because, you know, this is what they tell us, but where does this information even come from? So my head's hurting like mad, and my eye is swollen, which is kind of what it did prior to my first really bad relapse. It was swelling and swelling, and everybody else was like, well, it looks the same to me. But I guess because the swelling was increasing so slowly, they didn't notice. I don't know. So in any case, it's swollen again. And if this isn't a relapse and it's some kind of funky infection, then it would definitely be an eye infection. But the steroids did help. And usually if it's an infection and you don't need the steroids don't really help. So that's another clue. Or at least to me, it's another clue. And then again, I've not had a bounciness. You know, my eye's been like it is, and it has stayed like it is. It's just not dragging everything else into it. And if it wasn't a relapse and was a pseudo relapse, it would drag every other symptom I've ever had into it. Now, I have had a lot of weakness on my right side. I've had some balance issues. And with all of this, it's pretty safe to say that, you know, from my standpoint and my knowledge, that this is just a very mild relapse. And I think the reason why it's so mild is because I'm on a DMT, a disease-modifying therapy, that is working. It's doing its job. It's keeping this mild. So it's not getting out of control because I'm on a good DMT. And that's just my opinion. Okay, there's not a fact that says that if you're on a DMT that works for you and you have a relapse, that your relapse is going to be mild. But it makes sense to me because my others were acute relapses involving 3 or more body parts, usually 4, and cognitive skills and an eye and an ear and all of this stuff. So I think my DMT, while it may be time to switch now, I think it is still protecting me from the super bad stuff that would be the acute relapse like I used to always have. So one way to tell is by the flip-floppiness, which I'm not having. And another way to tell is that steroids don't help a pseudo-relapse. And the steroids definitely helped. It cleared up my left eye. My right eye is still not clear and it's still swollen. So we shall see when I go to the eye doctor today. I see an ophthalmologist, y'all. Now, I didn't even know there was such a thing as an ophthalmologist before I went that first time during the diagnosis process, which for me took a whole of 4 days. So, and I'd never went to a hospital. You know, if I'd been in a hospital, I might have been diagnosed in 1 day. But not going to a hospital, it was 4 days. But I was sent to an ophthalmologist. There's not very many of them in the country. I do know that. And I am very lucky to have him here. Dr. Woolen is a leader in the field, and he goes around and talks to other ophthalmologists about MS, and he trains them as to what to look for and the symptoms of optic neuritis amongst other things. If a patient comes in and complains that their eyes are hurting when they move them, or that they can't look down or they can't look up, these are all things that he knows to be part of MS. So they may be part of other conditions as well. So there has to be MRIs and things as well to verify what's going on. But he goes around and talks to people. So I'm really glad that I'm going to be able to go, and I'm glad that my son is going to be able to come by and pick me up and take me, because there's no way I can drive. Also, when it comes to pseudo relapses and the bounciness of our symptoms, those are a lot of times caused by illness, an infection or a cold or anything like that. And they're also caused by stress. Now, there's a lot of talk in the community as to whether or not stress can actually cause a relapse. I think for stress to actually cause a relapse, you have to already be set up to have one. In other words, not be on a good DMT for you, and also maybe have something else going on as well, so that there's a multitude of things affecting your MS, and then the stress just pushes you over the edge. So I don't think stress alone causes it, and that's just my opinion. But stress does make all of our symptoms go crazy. I mean, they just do. They go nuts. And I don't have that nuts of a system. I'm not having that kind of experience. Everything's not bouncing here, there, and everywhere. It's staying pretty much the same. So we shall see when I go what Dr. Woolen has to say, and if he wants to do an MRI, or if he wants to send me for steroids, or what he finds, because it could be that my eye is infected, and the ER docs don't know anything about it, so they don't know what's going on. The ER doc did say that he saw some kind of flakes in my eye. Now, he said it really fast, so I didn't hear what kind of flakes. And when I asked him to repeat himself, he said it really super fast again. So I kind of got the impression that he was telling me something that maybe he doesn't really have much of a clue about, and saw something but didn't know quite what it was. So again, my doctor, Dr. Woolen, my ophthalmologist, will be able to look at that and tell me if these flakes are actually something or if they're not something. Because the way the ER doc was acting, these flakes are a big deal. But since he wouldn't tell me exactly what he was talking about, it just leaves me wondering whether he knew what he was talking about. And of course, when I go to the ER, I have to tell them not only that I have MS and that I have this undifferentiated mixed connective tissue disease, that they haven't figured out which tissue is involved, so I'm not taking anything for it, and that I also have had a meningioma that was removed, and I had it removed, and I think I'm having seizures, but by the time they got their act together and got the test ordered, it was too late for it to show up. But I'm pretty certain that what I experienced was actually a seizure, and other doctors have told me the same. Um, it's just that the EEGs have to be done right away, and mine was done 8 days later, so or 9 days later, something like that. So it was over with. Um, but these things are all serious things. But the ER that I went to, I have to tell them about these things. And then they ask me, what do you do for this? Should we do a CAT scan? Good grief. No, we don't do a CAT scan. A CAT scan doesn't show anything for MS. You need to do an MRI. Oh, an MRI? Really? Yes. Well, I don't think we can do an MRI today. Okay. I love being in a little town. I do. I like it. It's a nice little place to live. I'm nestled down here in the foothills of the mountains, and despite the fact that this year is being really odd, and we're actually supposed to get this huge snowstorm coming in Saturday night, Sunday morning, and up to like 6 or 8 inches of snow here, which is almost unheard of. So, other than, it's been weird as far as the weather goes, which is why I'm in the closet again today, y'all, because it's so freaking cold outside. So, um, it's just, it's a lovely place to be. It really is. And I love all the trees and the woods and the critters. But as far as medical care here, it's really, really bad for people like us, because they don't know what they're doing. Even at the ERs, they don't know what they're doing. So I have to tell them. So I had to tell them, yes, I get Solumedrol for these. Well, how much? 1 gram. Okay. Do you get fluids with them? Like as in an IV? No, I don't get IV fluids with the Solumedrol. I get a sweet drink. And if you're diabetic, you can't have the sweet drink, but I think they give me a sweet drink, like a Coke or apple juice or whatever. But they give me something sweet because it helps with the bad taste. And I think that's what it's for. And plus, they want you to be hydrated. So if you're showing signs of dehydration, they're going to give you sweetened water or juice, but they're not going to give you a Coke because that doesn't help dehydration. But I was not dehydrated. They asked if I'd lost a lot of weight, and my husband chimed in and said yes. But no, I haven't lost a lot of weight recently. I've lost a lot of weight over the last 6 years, but I haven't lost a lot of weight recently. The first year I dropped 20-something pounds. But I dropped a lot of weight because I lost a lot of muscle. And muscle weighs a pretty good bit, and I lost a lot of weight. But I do believe this is a mild relapse. And, knowing the difference between a relapse, an actual relapse, mild or not, and a pseudo relapse is really, really important. Watch for those bouncy symptoms. Those bouncy symptoms, that is completely pseudo relapse. If your symptoms are, if you can't hardly move your leg, and then later on in the day you can, and then you can't again, that's pseudo. It's not an actual relapse where you have inflammation and swelling going on in your brain. If you have muscle spasms that come and go, that's going to be not a relapse. that's going to be a pseudo problem, or just a muscle spasm problem as part of your MS, which unfortunately I have quite a bit of those. Muscle spasms can be really painful, especially if you get them on a sciatic nerve like mine are. But even if they're in your calf or somewhere like that, they can be really painful. And knowing the difference between an actual relapse and a pseudo relapse is so important for us, because we tend to worry about what's going on. And we want to be as worry-free as possible. So what have I been doing since I can't see? Well, I've been listening to funny shows on TV with the screen blacked out, because any light makes my eye hurt that much worse. I've also been listening to music, because I like listening to cheerful, happy music, and this is something that just helps me to feel better. And then I've been doing a lot of resting, and I wish I could say that I get all this energy from the steroids, but frankly, I could have gone to sleep. Matter of fact, I nearly did go to sleep while they were infusing me. So they just don't have that effect on me. And I have to wonder, and I told my friend Lori this, that I wonder if the reason I don't get all that energy off of steroids is because the steroids are going solely to the swelling that's going on. Who knows? But I do think that if you have funky side effects from steroids, that you should look into doing one of the other things for a relapse, because there are other options. And oh my gosh, my time is about up already. But be careful, y'all, not only to stay on your feet if you're on your feet and not fall, but also be careful when it comes to the weather and the temperatures, and knowing what those temperatures are and how your body is going to react to them. And also know the difference between an actual relapse and a pseudo relapse, so that you don't worry yourself half to death over things going wrong. We do have setbacks. That's just the name of the game with MS. And, there's nothing we can do about it except for muddle through it and keep smiling, because that's so important. So now that my time officially is up, let me tell you, don't forget, always remember to smile big, smile often, even if you're having a relapse. Smile big and smile often. Laugh a lot. And most importantly, love yourself, including the wacky MS parts of you, because that's a part of you. And you can't love yourself and hate your MS all at the same time. So while I wish I didn't have it, and I really wish I wasn't having this issue, I gotta love myself. So remember, always love your whole entire self, y'all. And until next time, have the best week possible. Do everything you can. Set yourself up for success. Love you guys. Bye.